Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Georgia Football Rumors versus Facts. I am Blaine Gilmer here without Trent and Jed tonight, but this is live, so anything can happen going live. And as we do, I'm going to try to add Mr. Roddy Nabolti here. We had some mic problems going back and forth, so we're going to see here live if I can hear him or not.
Test 1 2. Test 1
I
2.
can't hear him, so we're gonna have to see if he can do his check it on his phone. So I'm gonna kick Roddy real quick and see if he is able to come back on here. So we'll kick Roddy real quick, but he's gonna try to join us here in just a second. So hey, you never know. Technology, hey, it's great sometimes it's not. So but anyways, this is Rumors versus Facts. Like I said, I'm Blaine Gilmer, UGAsports.com, and it is full swing when it comes to football season, when it comes to in-season recruiting and visits, all of those good things. So right off the bat, we always want to touch on, before we get to the questions of the members of the Vault, and we always appreciate the members of the UGA Sports Vault submitting questions each week. I always check those right up until about 8 o'clock on the Monday before. So if you don't get yours in before about 8 o'clock, that's when I start putting them in, guys, and pasting them in here, getting stuff ready for the show. So that's what we always try to do. But wanted to give everybody some updates on what's going on. Obviously, you've got Shamar Stewart, who we announced last week that he was coming to Athens for this Arkansas game. And that is that's a big visit, guys, when it comes to an edge rusher, an impact type guy. He's really, upwards of that 270-pound mark now. So he's really more of a true defensive end type, but he's got the athleticism, the speed to, be able to still line up as a stand-up guy if need be. Dan Lanning is all over that recruitment. Georgia has been asking, to be the last visit overall for Shamar Stewart. So he's going to take this unofficial visit. He'll still have an official later on, whenever he wants to take it. So he has not taken an official to Georgia yet. So he's going to be there, for the game Saturday. And we'll see how things go with Shamar Stewart. I think we have Roddy back here with us. Roddy, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, and we got Roddy here with us. So don't know what was going on with the mic, but it's all good, Roddy. So we're just talking.
$300 microphone. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it.
Who knows? But I was just telling everybody, right off the bat, we like to talk about, before we get to the members of the Vault's questions, we like to talk about some news and events that's going on in recruiting. Have Shamar Stewart coming into town. We just talked about that. If they're right, I was telling them if they were members of the event of the Vault, of UGAsports.com, they saw that information well over a week ago. I mean, we were able to provide that to them a while back. So that's big from the standpoint of, he's a Miami guy. Miami and Florida State, all those Florida programs that are struggling right now that were traditional powers, Roddy. I'm not saying that you and I, you more so than me, but we've been doing it long enough to know that one or two games isn't going to influence somebody's decision, but downward trends of a program potentially spiraling out of control, that'll get a prospect's attention in a hurry.
Yeah, losses don't do it. People go, well, they lost this game. That's going to help us. Well, the flip side of that, if you lost, the first thing you do is you get on the phone with a recruit and say, hey, we wouldn't have lost if you were here.
Yeah.
You see that safety, that safety, he missed like 8 tackles. You wouldn't have missed those. We'd have won if you were here. You talk about playing time. You can come here, play right away. This other team that's, we're going head to head with you against, they've got a ton of talent. You may be a year 3, year 4 guy lost in the shuffle over there, but us, and we hear this all the time. Kids say, well, I picked school X because who was offensive lineman in this class recently said, I felt that this team needed me. The other team wanted me, and they said it about Georgia, said Georgia wanted me. This team needed me. And that's an easy case to make when you're getting your butts kicked. But if you do see that spiraling out of control, and ideally, if you're at Georgia, what you want is these teams to spiral out of control and not change coaches.
Yeah.
And people think, well, if there's coaching change, it's going to work out great because all the people that had a relationship with him will be gone. Yeah, but see, when the new coach comes in, it creates new excitement about that program. They got a new coach. They got a new recruiting guy. You were looking at him, and hell, you might like the new guy better than the current one. Yeah. Kirby Smart pulled Jake Fromm and Rich LeCount and some other guys who were looking at Alabama. He comes to Georgia. Georgia has a coaching change. Everyone's like, well, getting rid of Mark Richt, we're going to lose all these recruits. I think it worked out fine for you. So you never know how that's going to work out. But don't get excited if the team that you're going head-to-head with might lose a recruit or two. That doesn't mean it's going to help Georgia's case a ton. But it's like the markets. The recruits like stability. They like to, when you're trying to make a life-altering decision, you want some consistency. You want to know what you're getting into. And if there's a lot of questions about it, that's when you can make hay on the recruiting trail, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think one thing that was specifically with Shamar Stewart that Georgia does have the ability to point to this weekend, especially if they come out and play defensively the way they've been playing and do so against a very good Arkansas team. They'll be able to, on that visit, after the game, stuff like that, say, hey, Shamar, just kind of notice what's going on. Texas A&M got some ups and downs in the road. Miami, ups and downs in the road. Georgia, it's just been that. And Kirby Smart has done this a lot. He's used this hand motion a lot in his press conference. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, the upward trajectory, he said that's what they're trying to do. So he's like, if they're able to do that, it won't be a, nail in the coffin, going to get that signature type deal, but it does capture momentum. It has an ability, a opportunity to capture some momentum in the recruitment. So that's definitely one that we wanted to highlight right off the bat was Shamar Stewart. Another big, actually an official visit that was confirmed once again. He already announced it several weeks back, but confirmed it just before we came onto the show, is Julian Humphrey, 2022 corner out of the Houston, Texas area, and he will be in town for an official visit. Committed to Florida right now. He's even been doing some recruiting on behalf of Florida. But Roddy, you've seen this. Guys committed even to prospects that are in the same conference, and taking those officials can change a lot of things. Even guys that are committed elsewhere.
Yeah, a lot of times, especially if you've been committed to a place for a long time, and they kind of feel that you're no longer some of these guys will feel taken for granted. Okay. If you're a Georgia coach or a Clemson coach or an Alabama coach, this kid's been committed to you for 8 months, 6 months, a year, 3 weeks. And it's like, okay, that kid's in the fold. Maybe you don't text him every day like you had been doing when he was uncommitted. Maybe you don't send him a good luck against school X every Friday night like you had been doing. And then all of a sudden, somebody else comes along and you take an official visit over there. And Coach John has mentioned this on the show numerous times. He says it's just unfair how Georgia closes when they get these kids on campus.
No doubt.
From the arrival to the departure, everything's locked out. I mean, everything is planned. Everything is taken care of. You don't have you show up, okay, now what do we do? You have hosts that take care of you. You go out with a team. It's all very well coordinated. And that makes a strong impression. Okay. It's like, wow, these people have their crap together. Okay. Maybe this will be what it's like when I'm a student. Plus, every part of that visit shows you, here's what it would be like if you were here. Okay. So let's say you're a Florida commit, or you're a Tennessee commit, or a South Carolina commit, not even just in the SEC, but in the same division. You're like, hey, come spend time on campus. Come, let's go to the academic center. See this is where you'd be sitting. Oh, you want business? We'll have the dean for the Terry College of Business there to talk to you, saying, look, come, we'll help you out in the business school if you come here. And each part of that visit makes you envision what you would be like at that school. Now, you've had that at the school you were at, and you've probably visited, that you're committed to. You've probably visited 3, 4, 30, 40 times, especially if it's not that far away. But now, before you could never see yourself somewhere else, but now you can because you went on that visit. So again, sometimes it's just hey, show up for a free meal, get some free gear, don't worry about it. Nothing's going to change. But there's always that chance. And that's why I'm always like, look, this kid's committed and he takes a visit. Lots of times behind the scenes, we try to find out, hey, man, why are you really visiting? You know, and lots of times they'll tell us, man, I just want a free trip to Houston. You know, I just want a free trip to here. You know, I want to go see. My best friend's on that team. Okay.
Well, and
but other times they're like, hey, I want to see what it's like.
Yeah, and being behind the scenes, speaking of that, you and I were actually standing right there together when Julian Humphrey and Isaiah Bond, who are both committed to Florida, were there, and they told us, hey, we were just in Athens right before this 5-star challenge. But they were like, please just, we don't want that public right now. Don't say anything. So we held on to it. Then we saw later in that month that he started posting pictures of that visit to Georgia. So he at one point he doesn't even want it out. Then the momentum swings enough. Okay, I'm going to release full out pictures. And then the next, like a couple of days later, an official visit has been scheduled. So definitely you can see the momentum has built to this point. And, Georgia will have an opportunity with Julian Humphrey there. And then Roddy also wanted to talk about some 2023 guys that, well, I'll talk about one 2022 before I get to the 2023s. Griffin Scroggs. Trent Smallwood and I went to the Grayson versus Mill Creek game. And I specifically just wanted to put eyes on, and it's hard from a sideline to really capture offensive line videos. I tried to get some of Griffin, but it's a big scrum in there. But just watching him and being able to, take in how he is during a game against a good Mill Creek front. And here's the thing. Grayson's very one-dimensional right now, Roddy. They're not able to throw the ball very well. So Mill Creek knew that Grayson was going to have to be running the football. So they were kind of anticipating run blocking from that big Grayson offensive line. And Griffin Scroggs was still he was manhandling people in the middle. And he was able to, he blocked past the whistle. I mean, he was almost borderline, okay, let's let him go, that kind of stuff before getting a personal foul. So Griffin Scroggs plays with a little bit of a mean streak to him. And I think he's a guy that Georgia, whether it ends up being center or guard, that Georgia's going to really like having on that team going forward. And some people say, well, 3-star, I think, Georgia has proven, especially in the trenches, that they're capable of evaluating these linemen and develop them into good players in the University of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Sullivan Kinley was a 3-star. He turned out okay. And again, I know, and I say it all the time, but I haven't been on your show in a while. To me, a 3-star is a absolute contributor, potential all SEC type caliber player. And people go, well, it's not a 5-star. There's only 32 5-stars a year. Mm-hmm. You're going to tell me you don't want the number 33 kid and 34, 35 kid, when you say, hey, he's a top 64 kid. Oh, well, he's like 61st. That's a second-round pick, if you think about it, because basically what they're trying to do when they say, hey, you're in the top 32, that they're basically kind of matching it up to the NFL draft. A 3-star guy, okay, maybe this isn't somebody who's going to get drafted in the first 3, 4, 5 rounds, but he's definitely going to be has the potential to be a very good SEC player. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to take all, and again, I've been working with Rivals since about 2007. It's been a long time. I've worked with ESPN. I've never said ratings don't matter, but I will say this year, ratings and rankings and stuff like that are going to be a little bit off because we haven't seen as much football of these kids as we have in the past. Lots of times, so many games were canceled last year. We're working on a smaller sample size, and you're going to see kids pop up at the last second that you didn't know about. I mean, who was talking about Scruggs 6 months ago?
Who was talking about CJ Madden?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so then all of a sudden the coaches they pay for recruiting services. They pay for people to put eyes on these, not just like news recruiting, but actual recruiters that go out and watch kids play and say, hey, here's my list of the 100 top kids in the state of Georgia. And they look at that and go, well, here's our list, and here's this other guy's list. And they compare it and contrast and come up with, here's the kid we need to look at. You're not going to burn the scholarship on a guy you don't think can contribute. And I'm not saying don't question the coaches, but they're not going to make a stupid decision or what they think is a stupid decision just for the hell of it. So I go back on story time with Uncle Roddy. I always tell the story of Jonathan Abram. Okay, he committed on Halloween night, I believe. It was a Friday night. He committed like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night after his high school game. I'm sitting in a bar in Jacksonville. Sexy nurse over here, sexy kitten over here. The guy from Freddy Krueger over here, because it's Friday night, Jacksonville Beach, on Halloween night. Costume contest going on everywhere. And I'm having to stay good and sober and wait for Jonathan Abram to go down so I can launch the stories that we have pre-written. Other services are out there saying he's not a take for Georgia. No one's going to follow. I think we were the only ones that did. And, Trent Smallwood said, look, I've been talking to this kid. He's committed to Georgia. He's a take. And the kid commits after his game. We launched a story 11:30 on a Friday night, almost like somebody else did recently at midnight.
Bo Hewley.
But the idea is, I'm like, look, you're not going to get any attention on Halloween night at 11:30. Not any good attention. But point being, the next day is the Georgia-Florida game. I walk out to the middle of the field where everybody's warming up, and I see Jeremy Pruitt. I'm like, Jeremy, coach, that kid, Jonathan Abram, committed to you. He's a take, right? Y'all took him. He goes, oh, absolutely. I'm like, okay, I just want to be sure. He goes, why would you ask? I'm like, well, there's some people saying he's not a take. He goes, well, those people are idiots. Because we have him ranked as the number one cornerback on our board. We have him. I said, well, we've got him. He goes, I don't care what you guys have. Y'all are wrong about this. And, typical Jeremy Pruitt bashing, he just kind of rips me a new one. But, he was confirming news because he could say that. But point being, his chart versus our chart and the rest of the industry's chart, they were right. Everybody else was wrong on Jonathan Abram. That's what, and I'm not saying Scruggs is that way. Scruggs may be a first rounder. He may never get drafted. We don't know. But I'm just saying, you don't get caught up in the stars, especially this year. If it's a 5-star, take it with a grain of salt, a huge grain of salt. He may be terrible. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I was impressed just for the first time seeing Scruggs play in person. The footwork, the way that he was able to Kirby Smart, and you hear the Georgia players use the word strain a lot through a block and finish blocks, and that's what Scruggs did. So I was impressed by that. And in that game, there was two. He's a
big boy.
Oh, he is a big kid. Also, there was a guy beside him, Walt Claire Flynn, who is a 2024 target. Yep. And he was playing guard right there beside him. And man, when they would get a good combo block on somebody, it was over. I mean, they were right there beside him. So that was a big prospect lined up beside Scruggs there. But in terms of,
that's good for that kid too, because he learns.
No doubt.
Hey, Jamari Sawyer learn at the feet of Andrew Thomas, where it works out.
It does. And he's got I've actually heard a comment from Scruggs pregame. They got done doing their pregame snaps and all that kind of stuff. Cause, Claire Flynn is the backup center to Scruggs there for Grayson. They would just kick him over if something happened to Scruggs, and Scruggs was like, I feel like I have children now, when he said that to all these young guys. So he's a jokester. He keeps it light over there, and he was having fun with those guys. But Roddy, in that game where there was also two outstanding 2023 defensive backs that Georgia's heavily recruiting, both Caleb Downs and Michael Doherty. Caleb Downs is just all over the field for Mill Creek, and really, is a safety that's not afraid to come down in the box. Now, I will acknowledge everybody said it on the vent and on the vault for the last week since I posted the update on Caleb Downs. Yes, we know that he's related to Dre Bly. Yes, we know that his brother goes to North Carolina as well. But when you talk to Caleb Downs, he's telling everybody, listen, that's my brother, that's my uncle. But he goes, I've got to make my own decision. And to your point,
where's BJ Ojolari playing right now?
Absolutely. Same thing. And Caleb Downs, you can tell when you talk to him, winning is very important to him. He wants to win. North Carolina is not proving to, take the next step in that program this year. Like I said, one loss is not is not a defining factor of who wins a game, but trends going forward are. And I think Caleb Downs, he's a smart, very articulate, very, thinks things through young man. And
the whole family's that way.
Yeah, and he will come down and just absolutely knock you out too from that safety position. Has great range. Had a pick to kind of seal the game there for Mill Creek. Also, Michael Doherty had 10 tackles in that game. Roddy, he was just in the back. He had like 3 tackles for a loss. It was a outstanding performance for Michael Doherty. They're using him in that star position type role, the same way that Georgia does. And, you'll see him in the box and you'll see him covering slot receivers and things like that. The thing that impressed me about Michael Doherty is he's able to, they throw a quick screen out in the flat and he's playing up towards the box, expecting run. They hold him with the RPO type look, a flash the running back in front. But as soon as he sees that ball in the air, he's just flying out to that receiver, breaks down, makes tackles in space. So Michael Doherty has been and always, will be a huge priority for Georgia in this class of 2023. He was in that famed picture we had last week with Arch Manning and Pierce Sperlin and Justice Haynes. So 2 big guys there.
Brandon Joyner.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Joyner was
have some beef in that photo, man. Come on.
Yeah. Joyner is just a prototypical, just road grader there in the middle for that 2023 class. But Pierce Sperlin obviously is, trying to gather all those guys together. And, that brings us to our first question here, Roddy. I talked about those 2023 guys. We have another 2023 guy that had a impressive performance this weekend. He, in fact, was on our highlight video that I posted on Following the Future on this YouTube channel. So if you don't subscribe for this show, make sure to subscribe for Following the Future. Make sure to subscribe for, impressive, exclusive interviews like Reese Davis with Jim Donnan.
Reese Davis for half an hour. Come on, folks. If that's not worth your 13 cents a day, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and also
it's half off right now. So I always tell people it's 27 cents a day. You just can't. Right now, it's 50% off for new subscribers. Code 50DOGS, 50DAWGS.
And then tomorrow you'll have Roddy and Dane with Jim Donnan as well on the weekly podcast over there and the weekly YouTube show. So it's going to be great. But here we like to answer the questions of the Vault members. So we're going to try to run through these for you real quick. Roddy, if you'll go ahead and read that first one for us there.
Oh, Pine Tree. Pine Tree is one of my favorite guys. He gives me a lot of hell on the board, but I like him.
I think he gives everybody a lot of hell.
No, Pine Tree was good. Thoughts on Lawson Lucky? Is here our primary option for the second 2023 tight end? A little small and only a 3-star. Again, don't get caught up in the stars because, hey, Pine Tree, we can be wrong. And that's what I'm saying. We could very well be wrong. But the great thing about a 2023 guy is we get to see him this year, get to see him next year, stuff like that. So that's one more question for you, because my thought is Georgia definitely goes, Pierce Sperlin, Lawson Lucky, and that's it. But maybe that's not true.
Well, at one point, we had talked to Neo Avery, who Georgia offered.
That's
as
a quarterback.
Yeah, he was a quarterback and came down for a prospect camp, and he had basically, he told us that Georgia's it. That Georgia's where he's going, and I had even helped him get an edit ready to go. Like it was done. Like he was going to commit to the University of Georgia, and then all of a sudden backed off and said, hey, we gotta reevaluate some things. So who knows what's going to happen with Neo Avery there. Virginia Tech offered him today. He's from up in that Maryland, Virginia area up there. So, and there's a couple schools, Cincinnati actually is recruiting him as a quarterback, and Cincinnati's the number 7 program in the country right now. That's
been successful with QBs. So
yeah, that's something that makes you pause, and he's a great athlete. But I would say that it's between Lawson Lucky and Neo Avery for that second tight end spot, because also an interesting point, Roddy, Ethan Davis at Collins Hill put out a top group. Georgia did not make the top group. So that tells you that, you read into that what you want, but when you got a tight end who's as athletic as Ethan Davis, it might tell you that Georgia's kind of settled in on the guys. Todd Hartley's extremely good at that, of identifying the guys that he wants early and building relationships with those guys.
All right, you're gonna have to, because for a minute there, I was thinking Ethan Nation.
No, Ethan
Like,
Davis.
Oh, they're like, okay, sorry, it's just the old brain,
Oh yeah, Ethan Davis
there. I'm like,
Collins Hill.
how the hell did I miss that?
Ethan Davis at Collins Hill, was a basketball player.
Yeah,
came out, but yeah, Georgia was in on him, but they did not make his top group. So whether that's on his side or on Georgia's side, you could read into it. But it feels like that Lawson Lucky. And my point I wanted to make about Lawson Lucky is, if you go back and look at the fall in the future from this weekend, I feel so bad for those defensive ends at Meadow Creek, because Lawson Lucky drove them like the popsicle sled on a practice field. I mean, he absolutely ran them out of the picture, Roddy, blocking those guys. And he's extremely athletic. I mean, he's one, just like CJ Madden, that I think could end up becoming higher than a 3-star before it's all said and done. And like you said, the more eyeballs he gets on him, and Alabama offered him the other day, just if that means anything to you. I think that's a pretty good indication you can play some ball.
Now, and I've forbidden people to go on our message board and talk about the Bama bounce. And the Bama bounce, for people that don't know, is where people think that a guy moves up in the rankings because he's committed to Alabama. And I try to explain to them over and over again, we don't give a damn where someone gets, where they're going to college. Because, again, we're trying to pick the top 32 as 5 stars. Then 33 through 64 as, 4 stars, at least. And we'll do maybe 200 4 stars and stuff like that based on how we think they're going to do. It's a lot. That is regardless of where they go to school. And people say, well, why don't you do rankings based on how they're going to do in college? Well, we don't know where they're going in college, because if a kid's going to play at, Presbyterian, he might put up better numbers than he would.
Because they don't punt at Presbyterian.
Right, exactly. So if you're a punter going to Presbyterian, maybe your rate is going to go really low because they'll never use you. But if you were a scat back over there, or fullback or something, maybe your rank's up. But again, it's if you're at MTSU and like Jaden Hazelwood, if he was playing in the AAC, Player of the Year. Yeah. But playing for Oklahoma, it's a little bit tougher. Playing in Alabama, even harder. So again, we can't base it because we don't know where they're going to go. So we would have people, this theory came around that we would rank kids higher because they went to Alabama, because Alabama has the most subscribers of anybody in the Rivals Network. I try to tell them they're in the top 10, but we are the biggest SEC site. We're the number 3 site in the entire Rivals Network. So if there's anything, if you're trying to appease fans by ranking a guy high, there would be a dog bounce,
or a Longhorn bounce.
Yeah, there'd be a Longhorn and an FSU bounce. Okay, and so here's my point being: if Alabama offers a kid, what separates Alabama from everybody else is Alabama's analysis of scouts, or their scouting analysis, their evaluations of talent.
Yeah, they're recruiting from a position of strength.
Well, none of that, but they identify him. Yeah, I remember Jerry Jeudy was at a 707 at Georgia, tearing it up. Georgia didn't go hard after him, from what I was told. Alabama did. Devonta Smith was committed to Georgia. Alabama came and took him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derrick Henry committed to Georgia. Alabama came and fought for him. Sometimes they don't put up a fight for a kid that's committed. And you get him and you think you stole one from Alabama, and then he doesn't play that well. And you're like, well, point being, they've changed the entire coaching staff, offensive line, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, top to bottom. Everybody is on his 2017 staff. All of them are gone. Even his strength coach, gone. But you still can't duplicate what Alabama does, because they have been the best when it comes to talent evaluation. If Lawson Lucky got an offer from Alabama to go play over there, that says that we probably got the rankings wrong. Now, will we move him up? No, not because he got that. But I'm just saying, we better go back and double check his film, see if we're missing anything. And guess what? If you said, what was he, West Forsyth?
Oh no, he's at.
No, I'm saying who's Who's he playing against the other day?
He was playing against Meadow Creek.
Okay, Meadow Creek. So if he's taking Meadow Creek guys and driving them, putting them on the bus, all of a sudden he gets a bounce in the rankings because we've seen more tape on him. We're like, this kid's a 4-star. Yeah. So maybe that's a guy that we need to move up, not because he got an Alabama ranking, but we've seen more film. Alabama probably saw that film quicker than we did, hence the offer.
Yeah. So, and I know that obviously Georgia's, been with him for a long time with his, family. Obviously one of the lucky triplets, his father over there. So, and Coach Donna knows all about that with those guys being at Georgia. But, we'll see what happens with Lawson Lucky there. Next question here, Roddy.
Yep. Hi, from Realistic UGA fan, another prime dog venter, somebody who puts up a lot of questions, and we appreciate that. With some reports of Arch Manning being down to 2 schools, Texas and UGA, is this the case of a visit high, or is UGA submitted itself as a legit contender for his signature?
Well, I'll just tell you what I've gathered from this, Roddy, is that there's so many connections to the University of Georgia when it comes to Arch Manning, and not just like conspiracy theory, trying to, the proverbial board out there with string and you're trying to connect stuff, actual real connections where, for example, Kirby Smart and Peyton Manning are actually very good friends. They give each other a lot of crap, but that's what good friends do. They're going back and forth with one another. But Peyton Manning, Kirby Smart, good friends. You've got Matt Luke, who has been entrenched in that Ole Miss, culture over there as being the head coach, got close to Arch Manning, got close to Eli Manning, knows the family. They know what kind of man he is. There's connections with Will Muschamp's family to Cooper Manning's family. I mean, there's lots of things. And then Todd Monken has been in the NFL. Well, if you've been in the NFL, there's a good chance that Peyton Manning's written a handwritten letter to you, Roddy, because, I mean, Peyton Manning's just that thoughtful and nice of a Hall of Fame human being on top of a great player. So there's connections there. So I think Georgia definitely has a real shot. I don't know about it being down to Georgia and Texas only. I think Ole Miss definitely has a great shot. And Clemson can be in there as well.
Yeah, that is a stupid report, whoever said that, because that is untrue in my opinion. From everything I've heard, and I've heard from some really well-connected people, the first part is I don't believe it's down to Texas and UGA. I don't see that at all. I mean, hell, I could be wrong. I'm wrong every day, but that sounds like some wishful thinking. And
yes,
there is no way that, from what I'm saying, they are not close to making a decision. So
no doubt they're going to be
eliminated. He's still got a ton of time. They're not going to, and yes, quarterbacks tend to commit early, but you're not going to commit anytime soon because they're also going to wait and see how the coaching stuff pans out.
No doubt.
A lot of the coaches at these schools that you like right now, I mean, we've already seen coaches fired this season. USC needs a new coach. Georgia Southern needs a new coach. What if all of a sudden the Georgia Southern or USC poaches the offensive coordinator or the quarterback's coach at the school that you like?
What happens if USC wants to just break the bank and try to get Lane Kiffin to come back out there and take some from Ole Miss? I mean, who knows what? Especially if Ole Miss.
What if they go after Todd Monken?
Hey, what if they do? Who knows?
Hey, you got a great connection with Todd Monken, but now Todd's out of USC.
Yeah.
You like somebody at Clemson, all of a sudden the Clemson guy's gone. You like somebody at Texas, he's gone. Just again, they all probably have the same agent as Cooper and Eli's. Peyton and Eli. So, point being, there's people are trying to rush to how this thing is going to end up. I do not see this ending anytime soon. But to be fair, quarterbacks do make decisions very early.
Yeah. A realistic UGA fan had multiple questions here, so this is the second one, Roddy.
All right, with some crystal balls coming in and forecasts being made for Luther Burton to UGA, what is the premise behind these? Offense showing out, Mizzou struggles, etc. Now you're trying to figure out what his motivations are. And I will tell you, a lot of people that are making those decisions are making them based on what they're hearing, not based on what Luther's told anybody, in my opinion. Again, consistently losing, trending downward looks bad. Trending upward looks good, But a lot of when he decommitted from Oklahoma, did he not say business decision?
Yeah.
Which I'm like, wait a minute, business decision. Being a wide receiver at Oklahoma is a pretty good business decision. So is it a better business decision to be a wide receiver at Missouri or UGA? Running back U. There's a lot going on with Luther Burden. I don't think everybody knows what's in his mind. We have a great update on it. I'll let you mention that.
But, yeah, Clint Cosgrove today put out, and this is a direct quote. It says, mainly the relationship this is talking about Georgia, why he's high on Georgia. Mainly the relationship I have with the coaches, being able to go against one of the top defenses in the country every day at practice, the environment too. I love it down there. So that was what Luther Burden said. But Roddy, that just sticks out to me so much. The fact that this young man is thinking one of his reasons and what he's hearing is, hey, not only don't think just about game day stats, think about when the NFL calls the head coach and they say, how's he performing every day against your defense? Because Georgia had, and that used to be the same thing that people would say for Alabama, because Alabama was a defensive juggernaut back before they made this shift in their program. Now, you've probably got some Alabama, some GMs calling the Alabama team saying, hey, how does this linebacker perform against your offense? Because Alabama's offense is one of the best ones in the country. So I think that's some good forethought there. But
you're right. Because, if you had to rank teams last year, you'd rank Alabama first and Alabama's second team second. That's they were really good. Or split up the offense and defense of the two teams. But point being, we were speaking to Ladd McConkey today. Remember? 3-star guy. Was he even a 3-star?
Yeah, it was. Well, he started off like less than a 3-star and then went up to a 3-star.
Point being, there's a kid who's a starter for the University of Georgia. And we asked him, how'd you get here? He's like, well, going up against Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell every day in practice and, having to fight off Mark Webb every day, that'll do it for you. And it does. So, again, it's not the recent losses. It's not the, a couple losses there. Georgia's offense improving. Every one of these kids, again, don't get caught up in the losses. All these kids just want to go to the league, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is the goal. That's what when you start showing out in Little League, they're like, you're going to be great in high school. When you're great in high school, they start talking about you're going to be great in college. When you're great in college, or even when you're great in high school, they start talking about the whole point is to make it to the league. So every one of these kids wants to see what's more impressive than the giant facility you just built. How many guys did you have drafted last year? You want to know why everybody goes to Alabama? Alabama says, look, we had 11 guys drafted. We had 8 guys drafted. We had 9 guys drafted. Most schools get 1, 2 at most. Yeah. When you start putting up those kinds of numbers, the kid may hate everything about Tuscaloosa. He may hate the colors. He may hate the co-eds. He may hate Saban. But he's like, this is going to give me the best chance of going. So I'm going to pick Alabama.
I'm sure there's some that regret some parts of that decision. When they get
there have been many, but it's the idea. It's like, look, I can go suffer there for 3 or 4 years, but it's increasing my chances of going to the league. Now, what the other coaches have to do is say, look, you come here, you play, you show out. The NFL will find you. You can be an international football player, and the NFL will find you. Each one of these teams has tons of scouts. Their job is to find the top players. You don't have to go to Alabama, but it's the development while you're there. Are you going to be better at the end of year 1, the end of year 2, end of year 3? And if Luther Burden's looking at Georgia going, I think by going up against Keely Ringo, going up against, if they can flip Humphreys, going up against Nyland Green, going up against Jalen Kimber, is that going to make me better than if I go? You can be a star at Missouri, but that's great. They've had some. But does that really?
Missouri's defense just gave up 41 points to Boston College, so we'll see. There's everything. There's many thousands of pieces to this puzzle, and he's all. You got a 17, 18-year-old kid who's in the same time as trying to decide his future and decide who he's going to ask to homecoming, and all in the same week. So you never know. You never know what's going on. The third question from realistic UGA fan 1191 version 2.0 here.
Yeah. He has the same question about Eni White as he did for Luther Burden. Did the last visit really swing Georgia into the lead? How would Georgia utilize him off the edge? And I was the one that went on the board right after this and said, I put in a future cast prediction for Eni White to Georgia because, as we talked about, those last visits, or not last visit, but those visits are strong. They're very strong. You get in there and you the kid could see it. I mean, we weren't really talking about him coming to Georgia, but after that visit, he could see himself there. He told some people he could see himself suiting up for Georgia, and it works again. And also, they showed him the development. When you get into the room with the coaches and they show you clips of players at Georgia, players in the NFL who are at your position, then they show your high school tape and like, here's what you did similar to this guy. Here's what you should have done better. Here's what you did well that's just like him. Okay, you're Adam Anderson in this picture, or you're Azeez Ojulari, or you're whoever, and this is what you would do. And they match it up frame to frame, showing the exact same stuff, because plays are pretty similar. It makes an impact on it. Now, again, everybody else is doing that too.
Yeah.
So it's not like Georgia invented this, He's getting the same thing at Alabama. He's getting the same thing at Tennessee. He's getting the same thing at Penn State. But when it all comes together and you're thinking, hey, in 3 years, I could be in the NFL.
And I think really it was Georgia and Ohio State kind of for him that were the top two. And we'll see if that ends up holding. But right as of now, based on, sources we've got and things that we heard out of Nye White's camp and things like that, it seems that Georgia has taken the lead there. Feel pretty confident in that. Now we kind of go rapid fire on a couple of these other ones. Captain,
Captain,
man.
That captain's been around probably since '97. Been around. I mean, that's a board fixture. What is the current situation with Smoke Bowie in Georgia? Has that ship sailed?
Okay, so with Smoke Bowie, obviously committed to Texas A&M now. Here's all I'm saying is you got to read the tea leaves here. Does he come back for another visit? We'll see about that. But the way that, they're bringing in a Julian Humphrey, they're going hard after a Jaheim Singletary. And even a lot of people think it could be in the driver's seat for Singletary and have a real good shot of flip Humphrey as he's coming in on a visit. So I would say that the ship's not totally sailed because Kirby's from Bainbridge and there's that inherent, relationship there, that ability to relate, but you never know.
How many guys have flipped on signing day?
That's true. It's never over till it's over.
Yeah.
There's another one there, Roddy. I'm
just saying other guys that have decommitted, bounced back. Was it Speed that did that? If I'm not mistaken.
I mean, think about Roquan.
I know there's one year where like 4 or 5 guys had decommitted in the year and were there for Georgia on signing day, and a couple of them came back the final day.
Think about Jermaine Burton. Nobody thought Jermaine Burton would end up at Georgia. I mean, everybody thought it was going to be.
They didn't think George Pickens would either.
Yeah, LSU, and it was all over Jermaine Burton, and then all of a sudden there he goes, and then of course we can't even really mention the word Zach Evans and Jordan Birch on here without people's blood pressure going up. So we'll save that.
Hey,
for
Brian Breezy, baby.
Exactly.
Old Dog 05, hero from California. I've heard we've had the last visit with him. So do you think we get him? How big a priority is he for the Dogs?
You know what? With Hero Canoe, I think Georgia will end up being in his top 5. And even if it went up to a top 3, I think Georgia could end up being in there. But the thing is, I think that Georgia has definitely Bear Alexander and Walter Nolan placed both higher on the board. That's just from what I gathered, talking to people, and also, just the way that the recruits themselves talk about their recruitment. And Bear Alexander, I think Roddy moving from Texas, out of the state of Texas, to IMG Academy, which has become a Georgia pipeline, is a strong move in that recruitment for Georgia instead of Texas A&M, who's in the top 2.
IMG Academy is a pipeline for a lot of people. Okay, because when you got that many talented kids there, a lot of people could say that. My thing about a move like that, yes, you're right, getting them out of Texas is good, but also you find out when you move away from home like that how much you hate it, and how much you can't get back home, and how much is a pain in the butt that Sunday night you can't have dinner with the family. So sometimes it works for you, and the kid gets used to being out of it. Like personally, I have zero savings, zero retirement, but I have traveled a good bit, and I started early taking my son with me, and I let him see other places. And now he's looking to go to college, and he's it's not just in the general vicinity. He's looking all over. He's like, well, what if I was going to school down here? What if I went to school in another country? Because he could see himself there because he's been there. He's been away from home and kind of got used to that. Some kids haven't, and you see them when they get away for the first time. All of a sudden, they're like, "This sucks. I hate this." Hey, Demetrius Robertson.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Bear, but I think the fact that just Georgia, I think Georgia and Alabama have been by far the most successful at kind of rating IMG Academy down there. Right. So that could be
recently, absolutely.
Yeah, that could be a big thing for them. Got another one here.
Oh, Green Timber. Green Timber's been around a good bit too. Definitely a solid poster. Do recruits give different answers to the recruiting insiders? We've got bird forecasts coming in for both teams, this site and others. Wonder if it's all the same info, but interpreted differently. God, yes. Okay, let's say we're talking to Luther or somebody who handles Luther, who's I don't say runs interference, but helps him deal with all the tons of media requests. You're talking to a coach, you're talking to a dad, you're talking to a mom, talking to a pastor, trainer, best friend, girlfriend, milkman, whoever. Wait, what's he saying? Well, he really likes Georgia. Okay. Now, did you say that because I covered the University of Georgia?
Yeah.
Different recruiting outlets, one take that as he's really high on Georgia. Some of us take it as, okay, well, that's positive. At least you're not saying that he doesn't like him. So just as you could have secondhand information interpreted a bunch of different ways by different competing interests, it's the same when you get firsthand information from the recruit who's sometimes telling you what he thinks you want to hear.
Oh, no doubt.
And what will get you clicks. Now, that's the thing about UGA Sports. Years ago, we could have dropped the whole subscription-based thing and gone straight ad revenue. We'd have, like our Reese Davis interviews, getting thousands of views. We could have that. We could put it out in little segments and have people clicking on each individual question we asked him. Like when he talks about Georgia beating Alabama or Georgia having the best defense in the nation, we could have put those out in little big segments and got a ton of clicks that way and made a lot of money, but we don't. We put it out for free. We're not going to make a dime off of it. Now, we're going to push the hell out of it. But point being, you get information like that and you can spin it to get people's attention, to get them on your site. So I like Georgia. Does that mean Georgia, some people will take that and say Georgia's the leader.
Yeah. I mean, it's all semantics sometimes, and it's also you got to understand that you're dealing with, you're dealing with 17, 18-year-old kids, a lot of times young men who are a lot of times just wanting to make it through an interview because they're nervous. Sometimes they're nervous about talking to people. They don't know what to say. They don't want to upset somebody that's been recruiting them so hard, by reading a comment. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. And, that's why we try to decipher it as best as we can for you here on UGA Sports. And
I'll tell that I've told this story before, so I apologize for people that have to bear with me, but I did have a tight end when I was working at ESPN. He gave me the quotes ahead of time about why he committed to UGA. He said, hey, look, I'm going to announce that. It was on a Monday because we were doing the Mark Richt press conference, and I remember being in that multi-use room, and we're waiting for this thing to go down. The kid was going to do it like 1 o'clock. We did the interviews. We had lunch. The kid had a ceremony, and we've got the story ready to go. All we need to do is hit launch because, I said, look, I'm with ESPN. Can you tell us where you're going? Sure. We will, and we call that an embargo in the business. You have the information. You embargo it, okay? The kid gave you the information on the condition that you would not report it until he announced. Happens in business reporting. It happens in political reporting. It happens in tons of reporting all over the world. We do it in recruiting. We don't want to ruin the kid's moment. We want to get the information. Kid gave it to us. Kid has a ceremony, puts on a Clemson hat. Went to Clemson, played 3 years, went to the NFL. I had the quotes on why he committed to Georgia. Point being, even sometimes when a kid tells you something, tells you exactly what's going to happen, he can change his mind at the last minute. So I'd written a story, 800 words, why this kid was coming to UGA, an interview with his coach, all that stuff. we just delete it. So,
No doubt.
in answer to your question, Green Timber, yes, different staffs. We disagree as a staff sometimes on what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No doubt. Yep. If we keep saying, Roddy, if we could monetize that group chat that we that we have.
Well, perfect example from the team standpoint. Some of us were hearing that Aaron Smith was going to make the trip to this past weekend to go up to Vandy, and some of us were here we weren't. So when I put out my 3-2-1 column saying he wasn't going to, you notice at the top part of the 3-2-1 column, the tag on that is opinion. Now I happen to be right because you all suck, but I'm just saying that was a situation where the old man got it right. But lots of times I hear stuff and my staff has to correct me that, dude, that's not what I'm hearing. You guys, especially when it comes to recruiting, you guys hear it 1,000 times more than I do. It's not my forte, but between you and Jed and Trent, hell, even Paul, y'all can all hear different things. God, you want to know the crazy stuff we heard during the Jalen Fields, recruitment and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
We had people coming on our board who were talking to members, said they were talking to members of Sunshine's family, and his dad was coming on the board to refute him.
Oh, Lord.
He's like, no, he's not wearing a Georgia polo to school today.
Oh, man.
But this guy's like, oh, I know he did. I'm like, yeah, sure you did. Okay. But the point being, that's the reason we're spending so much time on this. We should be going rapid fast. This is a great question because a lot of it is semantics, a lot of it is parsing, a lot of it is political. People trying to get clicks and make something out of nothing. A lot of his kids change their mind. That's why I bring up those examples. A lot of it is people hearing something from someone else, second, third, fourth hand. And when your job depends on you getting views, whereas in other times you might be a little more hesitant to run with it. Not if your jobs get views, you will take second, third, fourth hand information and call it rumor, call it fact, call it whatever. And then, does it cost you money to put in a future cast and be wrong? No.
Yeah. No, there's some people that like myself, I don't feel confident enough yet to put a future cast in for Luther Burton. Trent, for example, he feels confident enough to put in one for Luther Burton. So
and he's right a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
That's the only reason I keep him around. I mean, he doesn't do anything.
Trent's great at this stuff, man. So then our last question of the night here, Roddy.
Hey, what's up, dog? Says, do we sign Walter Nolan?
Okay, so if I could tell you if Georgia's going to sign Walter Nolan, I would go buy as many lottery tickets, as I could, because my chances would just be through the roof because nobody knows where not even Walter Nolan knows where he's going to go right now. This young man has moved into the shadow of Neyland Stadium. Tennessee is recruiting him very, very hard. His father has been seen on multiple occasions wearing Michigan gear from head to toe. Georgia has pursued him very hard and is going to get him in for a visit this fall. At one point, Florida thought they had him just
absolutely
wrapped up, it was over with. So the point is Walter Nolan's recruitment, I think, will be one that will last, if not to signing day, maybe even past signing day, Roddy. Like it's that up in the air with Walter Nolan.
Well, didn't he announce already?
Yeah, he said he was going to, once he got to a certain number of followers on Instagram, that he would announce his commitment. Well, guess what? He's a great marketing strategist because that number of followers,
11,000.
It hit immediately, like an hour later. No commitment announces. So
that's what I need to do is say, look, we've got great Georgia news for you, but I'm not going to tell you until I get to 100,000 Twitter followers.
Absolutely.
So, and then when we get there, just go, no.
Yep. Oh, never mind.
I appreciate the question. What's up, dog? Thank you so much for being a member, and thank all of you guys for the questions. It means the world to us. It's the great thing about UGA Sports, which is half off for the first year, is the readers It's the community. It's all that back and forth stuff. So it's a good question. But honestly, what's up, dog? Nobody knows. And again, if people tell you that they know, then they are good mind readers. And a lot of times this job does come down to guessing what a kid's going to predict when the kid doesn't know.
Absolutely. And Walter Dolan, I'm sure, is going to be looking and seeing what Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and all those guys continue to do this Saturday when Georgia takes on Arkansas. College game day will be in town. Roddy and Dane and Jim Donnan will talk all about that tomorrow at 12 o'clock on the UGA Sports Live podcast and YouTube show. So, Roddy, we've covered about as much recruiting as we can here on a Monday night.
So, well, you were very limited by having me on the show. There's only so much you can talk about.
Hey, no, I appreciate it.
It's like doing the show one arm tied behind your back,
the head man pinch hitting here for us for Trent and Jed. So guys, they're
fired, by the way.
Hey.
So Jed, this is an open call to all recruiting writers that want a job at UGA Sports. We have to replace Jed and Trent for not being here on Monday.
I think you've fired Jed like 5 times already on this show.
Well, one of these times is going to stick. He keeps coming back like a stray cat.
There we go. So for Roddy Nabolsi, I'm Blaine Gilmer, guys. This has been Rumors versus Facts. Make sure to subscribe, hit notifications, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts as well by searching UGA Sports. And we will catch you next Monday on Rumors versus Facts.